Today on the First Time Storytelling broadcast, my guest is Dr. Darian Parker. Darian earned his Ph.D. in sports education leadership with an emphasis in behavior modification from the University of Las Vegas. So he's spent over 15 years here in Las Vegas. He is the co-owner of Epic Leisure Management. He is also a live virtual personal trainer and the host of Dr. D's Social Network podcast. Darian is here to share the story of his first experience taking mushrooms. Welcome to the broadcast.
Hey, thank you, Anne. Appreciate it.
I'm very happy to have you here. All right, so let's frame your story a little bit before we get into it. Can you give us what time frame was that in your life and what was happening in your life that then brought you to, okay, I'm gonna try this for the first time?
I'm already laughing thinking about it. I think it was, okay, let's set the time frame. So I was around my mid 30s and around 35, 36. And I was running a very high-end luxury gym in Las Vegas in the Ridges community. So it was a pretty high profile job and I loved it. And I decided I wanted like my staff to do like a bowling league. I'm like, oh, we should have joined this bowling league. Just like, what a great way to like drink and hang out and, connect with each other. And I love Red Rock Casino in Las Vegas. Love it. And so we did this. And so I got the idea from talking to my buddy who was on my team. And he was like, I've been researching a lot about mushrooms. And I was like, whoa, where'd that come from? Like, what are you talking about? Like, this is a crazy idea. He goes, no, check out these articles about all this past research related to mushrooms and Johns Hopkins University studies in the 60s, 70s, divinity students saying that this was one of their top three greatest spiritual experiences in their lifetime. And I was like, whoa, that's crazy. So I started researching like heavily, like that people were taking mushrooms and they were having like incredible changes to how they saw the world. And I'm a pretty happy-go-lucky person anyways, but I was like, I guess I can enjoy life more. I'll do that, And then I saw this one study, it was more recently, I think, from Johns Hopkins, that people who had done mushrooms safely with a guide and the whole thing, that experienced a long-lasting, like up to a 1.5 year change in their level of happiness and kindness, peacefulness. And I said, that doesn't hurt to have more of that. I would like to I have that, but I want more of that.
So you didn't see any drawback, like none of the research is saying, this is dangerous, this might have bad effects. And
I saw was, what I remembered was, when I was growing up, it was like, oh, this stuff will make you crazy. And, people do weird stuff and bad trips. It's all about bad trips. And then the more you actually learn about it, I learned was that people who were really having those things, they weren't doing it correctly. They were actually like taking alcohol with it, which can be really bad. They were like inside. And I was like, I need to do this the right way. So I researched it really hardcore. And I also wanted to have a guide because I discovered that there's actually a lot of people who are guides for this stuff. They actually take you out in the desert or you go to the forest and you need to be outside in nature. And so I ended up finding a guide who was an awesome person in Las Vegas. And he was like, if you do this is going to change your life. Like, you're not going to be the same person. I guarantee you, you will not come back from this any way, shape, or form, viewing life the same way. I was like, wow, this is like a heavy thing. So I was like, yeah, I'm going to do it. And I told my wife, and she wasn't that into the idea of me doing it. This is honest. I'm very open about it.
Well, yeah, because it's like, I don't want I don't want a different guy to come back from this. I don't want to get to know you all over again.
Like who is this guy?
Yeah, it sounded more riskier for her than for you.
Yeah. And, but she's always really good about like, hey, this is your life. I don't want to stop you, but I'm really not that into the idea. And I was like, okay, I'm still going to do it. And I went to Oh my gosh, I'm blanking in Vegas. I mean, I was there not that long ago, but Red Rock Canyon. And I went all around this loop. This is an amazing loop in Red Rock. If you go to Las Vegas, it's more than the Strip. It's an amazing place out in the desert. You know, drive around this big loop. And so we stopped at the last trail on there. And I said, okay, I'm ready to do it. So I take these things. They look just like mushrooms, whole thing. And I'm like, jump in. I'm going to jump in. So I don't just take like a little bit of nibble on. I just boom, pound it, whole thing. Right? like I'm taking a shot. I'm just like, let's go. I take the whole thing. We're walking on this trail and I'm kind of nervous. I'm like, when is this going to kick in? You know, like I'm not sure. And like 10 minutes in, I'm like, nothing's happening. Like,
This is not working.
this is not working for me. Like, you know, like, and he's walking with me and he's just telling me all these things. He's like, just calm down, relax. I'm like, okay. I mean, I feel fine. I feel fine. And then 20 minutes in, the entire Red Rock Canyon turned green. Everything is like a lens switched and everything turned green. And I was like, whoa, everything's green. It was like, this is just the beginning. And I was like, whoa. And so what is weird is I was experiencing kind of this hallucinogenic state in a very sober manner, a very sober feeling, but everything looked weird. And then I looked at my arms and that's when it got really weird because my arms started growing. And I started physically seeing my hands were like starting to like this is weird to talk about sometimes. Like the fingers were just increasing in size. It was like growing. And my arms were stretching out like super far. And I was like, I'm freaking out right now. I am literally freaking out. But my guide was like, this is normal. You're starting to dissolve your ego. Your ego is starting to dissolve. And I'm like, oh, wow, I didn't know I had such a huge ego. I'm like, you know. And then my body started to dissolve. My whole physical body, my legs went, my arms went. I got really scared because I was like, man, I can't feel my legs. I literally can't feel my legs, my arms, anything. Is like, it's just dissolving. You are just your spirit, your entity that's what you're becoming. And so I accepted that. I accepted it. And that was weird because then I realized that I exist in a plane that is much greater than my physical body. And I knew that before, but it's different feeling it and kind of floating as your essence or that. And that was very freeing. That was extremely freeing.
Does your guy look different when you look at him? Like,
I'm getting to that part.
Sorry, I'll be patient.
No, it's good. It's a good story. I'm telling you, like, and I remember it like to the detail. So we're walking, I'm floating basically in my mind. And we get down to, he goes, let's go down to this like lower level canyon thing. There was nobody there. It was kind of this cove. And we get down there and he lays on a rock, this big rock. And I look at him and he starts transforming into the Hulk. Like he turns green, he turns into a monster. And I was like, you're turning into a monster. Oh my gosh. I was like, and he just starts smiling at me. He just looks at me and he goes, close your eyes. So I close my eyes and I immediately start seeing like cathedral stained glass windows, like in churches. And I broke through it and I started traveling into the cosmos and I couldn't handle it. So I opened my eyes. I was like, I'm not ready for space travel. I'm not ready for that. You know, I literally was like, that's not for me right now. And I got done with that and I just started pacing like crazy. I couldn't stop moving around. I was walking back and forth and I had an idea. I had like this idea that I needed to get out of me. And meanwhile, I was also thinking like, I need to get the hell out of here. I need to escape this environment. And then I saw a reindeer. I know this is crazy. I saw a reindeer like in the path where we went down and it would not let me leave. I was like, do you see this reindeer? Like it won't let me. This is in the desert, you know? And then I look up and look at the mountains and I see the mountains are breathing. They're like have a heartbeat. They're breathing in and out. And then the mountains start reforming each other like Tetris. They start coming down like Tetris, moving up and down. I'm like, this is crazy. Like, this is some crazy stuff.
Yeah, that all sounds very obviously trippy and all very
Yeah, trippy.
like tough to
Yeah, but I was
tough to
me.
absorb. Yeah.
I wasn't like drunk feeling or anything. I wasn't like in an altered, like I didn't feel like woozy. I was like very normal, just
Yeah.
seeing weird things.
It's probably
And
what makes it even funkier because you're
yeah,
completely aware, like you're saying,
you're aware. You're like
just
totally
aware,
with it. You're sharp. You're like sharp. Somebody could talk to you and be like, "Hey, how's it going today? I'm good." And you're just like seeing weird things that you're like, that's there. Like you believe it's there. You're like, that is there. And so I had this idea. I'm pacing. I'm so thirsty. I'm like the thirstiest I've ever been in my entire life. I'm so thirsty. And then I start like dry heaving. And I'm just like, and I'm like, the idea is coming. It's coming up. The idea. So I throw up the idea. Nothing actually came out like physically, but I throw up when I put my hands out in my hands and I see a box. I see this box. And the box told me, this is for, don't open this until later. I was like, okay. I was like, all right, I won't do that. And then, so we leave this canyon and I'm like, man, we're like 3 hours in right now. This is a long time to be in this state. I'm just like, I'm exhausted. I'm like so exhausted by seeing stuff that I feel like am I in the Matrix? Like, is this the Matrix? And like, what's reality and what is reality for that? So my guide gets up after laying on the rock. He still looks like a monster to me, but I've accepted that he's a monster now. And so we're walking and on this trail and he goes, take your shoes off. And I go, okay. So I take my shoes off and he's, I want you to feel the earth. I want you to feel the earth when you put your bare feet on it. And I put my feet on there and it was like magical. It was like I had become part of nature. I was part of the universe at that point. And he said, now I want you to bend down and put your hands on the ground. Put your hands on the ground. And so I put my hands on the ground and I saw the veins of the earth. I saw the roots in the plants start to cover my hands. And my hand became basically translucent. And so I could see my veins and the plant's veins covering each other. It was a handshake. And I remember I started crying hard because I knew that I was insignificant compared to the cosmos, that my existence in this physical body, it was nothing compared to what the universe was. You lose your ego. You completely become subservient to nature. And I knew then that there is so much more, that we are finite beings living in finite bodies, but infinite beings. You know, I knew it. Like I had always believed that, but it became crystal clear that nature is all powerful. We bowed to nature, but it wants to work with us. It wanted me to be a part of nature for that. So then I get up, I'm having this transformative experience. I'm so into it. I'm walking and then I can't find my guide. Like I'm freaking out. He just disappears. And then I'm like, this is like 4 or 5 hours in now, a long time to be seeing this type of stuff. I start walking on the trail and the trail keeps like pushing away from me. I'm like, okay, I'm getting near the end. And it just feels like it just keeps getting further away. And now I'm like, I want to be done. I'm exhausted. I would like to be out of this. So then I started seeing people and asking them if they were real. I didn't know if they were actually real people. And I didn't. I just thought, well, maybe they're fake people. I don't know if they actually exist. I'm imagining these people, my mind. And finally, I get to the end of the trail. I sit down in the parking lot and I'm just like wrecked. I'm just like, man, this is so exhausting. I see my guide. He's got the biggest smile on his face. He's got like these flowers in his hand and he's waving them around in the air. He's like, wasn't that nice? It was like, it was terrifying and amazing all at the same time. And then I got home, we got the ride home, and I talked to my wife. This is a beautiful part. She said, how was it? I said, it was the most jarring thing I've ever experienced in my life. And I said, I have something for you. And the box appeared in my hand again. I opened the box, and inside the box was all of the nature that exists on the planet. And it was
Wow.
green. And my wife is a huge nature person. And I never connected with her on that. I was like, oh, I'm not that into nature. When I don't want trees and stuff like that. And it was at that moment I realized I was meant to have that experience so that I could become closer to my wife.
Ah,
Yeah. Yeah.
how
And so,
beautiful.
yeah. And even now, like whenever I walk in the forest, I touch trees, and I yearn to feel them touch me back. I want that back. So I will be doing it again soon, actually, but I want that again. But it created even a stronger bond in our relationship because of that experience.
Wow, that's fabulous. That's a great story. But let me ask you this. Do you, now looking back, thinking about it and what came out of it, do you think you had a subconscious desire to get closer to even get closer to your wife? And that's what manifested itself while you were out there?
Yeah, I think I had a subconscious desire to grow more spiritually. I mean, I've always been very spiritual in my life, but I felt like I wanted to take it to the next level. And I felt pretty sure about it before. Once I made the decision, I was like, I feel sure. I think the side effect, a very positive one, was that I would grow in my respect for nature in the same way that my wife has had intuitively her whole life. So that has been really beautiful to see.
Yeah. I mean, I have never done mushrooms or
Mhm.
any type of drugs, but based on my conversation with Mike and his experience with it and his story, it definitely does seem that mushrooms allow you to go in and explore and discover what's in your subconscious that you need at that point in your life to realize, to know, to have it be available for you. So if you're not easily capable of doing that, then that breaks down the barriers for you to be able to then do it.
Yeah, you know what? And also it's so funny. The other side effect, or really, I think, jarring aspect, is it made me want to leave Las Vegas also.
Hmm.
Because I felt like I had an insatiable desire to live next to water after that. It was like it would not stop. In my brain, I was like, you need to live near water. You need to live near water. And it was a huge part of, now I live right next to the beach because of that desire kept pushing me to live. And that was like my only requirement when we moved up here to Washington State. I was like, I need to live literally right next to the water, to the ocean. And I said, whatever else, my wife wanted out of a house and all that stuff, fine. I just want to be near the water because of
Yeah.
that mushroom experience, like really pushed me to want that. And then I was reading Michael Pollan's book, How to Change Your Mind, who Michael Pollan is, a big like health food writer, architect guy. And he got really into mushrooms and wrote a book about it. And even he said he thinks, based off of his research, that the best time to take mushrooms is in like your late 30s or early 40s, because you're more ready. You kind of know who you are a little bit more at that point in your life, and you're more open to discovering other aspects of your life. But I truly believe that that existence, while in the altered state, might actually be the real existence.
Yeah,
Honestly.
I agree with that statement, and I
Yeah.
think you can achieve that state
Mhm.
without the mushroom, but it's a lot more work. It's a lot
It's
more
hard,
work.
like meditation. Some
It's
people can
yeah,
achieve that,
or
but it takes so long, so
yeah,
many
it
years.
takes
With mushrooms, boom, you're right in.
you're right in, and because of the blocks. I
Mm,
mean, it even meditation, it is because of the blocks that takes you much harder to
mhm.
get there. Like I have no desire to take mushroom because my brain already does a bunch of crazy stuff on me where I'm like, I'm like, I love this, but please stop. Like I can't, I can't handle like any more revelations, or like I haven't been able to act on the last ones you gave me. I need you to pause. I need you to pause a little bit. But that's because like I've always believed everything is possible. I've, well, not always. Like I've reached a level of believing in just endless possibility and magic that life has to offer, co-creating. And I've had moments when you mentioned, when you had your hands in the dirt. I've had moments where I've been on the side of mountains, getting down on my knees and crying and not being able to handle beauty. And, being a speck on this, like a tiny little speck on the side of a mountain, and you're looking out and you're like, I'm irrelevant. Like
you're exactly.
I do, having those revelation of because of having been in those environments, but that's years of putting yourself out there, of doing that. And so, a couple hours to get the same thing.
Yeah. It lasts a while too. It's not like, and it's not something like you want to do again. It's not like other substances where people may abuse them pretty regularly. This is one, like, it's so jarring metaphysically that it takes a while to want to even have the thought of doing it again. It's too much almost. So like, I think you have to be mentally, physically, spiritually ready. I know people who do it and they think it's just for fun, or, if you're into it to kind of get high, then you're going to have a really bad experience. I think, because it's not about that. It's actually called an entheogen. It's called a spiritual drug for a reason. These things have been used for thousands and thousands of years in indigenous populations to get closer spiritually. It's not a party drug. So I think that's what people need to recognize. This isn't for your fun recreational thing. This is like a deep, spiritually jarring experience. And, not everybody's ready for that.
Yeah, it is to, to go, and it sounds like to go to discover what it is that is next in your life, what it is that you're running away from, what it is that you need, depending, it's going to be such a different experience because everybody's at a different place. So now, being close to the ocean, have you found that to be a source of creativity, a source of inspiration, a calming effect?
I think it's just very calming for me. Like, I always have this route I drive, or anytime I come back home, I drive by the beach constantly. It's right near my house, but there's another way that's more forest driven, and I never go that way. I always want to drive by. I always want to see the water. And then in Washington State, there's islands off the coast and stuff. And then in different parts, there's like glaciers on top of Mount Baker. And it's just like, I like to experience the awe of the ocean, the majesty of it, and the calming effect, the alpine glow from the sunset and those things. I don't necessarily want to be in the water. I just like to be around it.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, that's what I discovered for me in mountains. Like I love being in the mountains, but I don't like Las Vegas. It's surrounded by mountains, and that's important. Like if I can go outside and see mountains, my soul is at peace. Like, okay. Now being in them is even more amazing, but as long as I'm surrounded by them, I am solid. I am good. So, finding what that one, that thing is for you is also, your soul aches for it. It wants it. It needs to be connected to it. And it's not because you're a huge water sports person, or because, it's just being near it. And that's awesome that you had that discovery of that. So, wow.
Yeah.
So has your wife thought about doing it since you've had your experience?
She has. She actually wants to. And I told her, I was like, I think you gotta make sure you're ready. I said, because it changes you. Like I was saying before, like, my guide was saying, you're going to be different. I mean, I am still the same person, but I think that the revelations that I had drastically altered how I want to live my existence in nature for that. So, I mean, she's already very nature centered. I'm like, I don't know what you're going to see. It could be scary. It could be really peaceful. I mean, but you have to allow yourself to like run towards whatever. And that's why I think a guide is really important, because I can't imagine seeing that stuff and not having a voice telling you it's okay.
Yeah.
or move towards this scary thing. Is, you know, because the guide was telling me too, like, hey, you might see people that have passed in your life and you'll think they're literally there. You're talking to them. I didn't have that experience. Part of me thinks I didn't have that because I don't really have unresolved issues with people who have passed away in my life. So it's not like I needed to tell them something or that. But I think for my wife, that could be an issue for her. So I say, you got to be prepared for like a crazy, crazy adventure. And on the next time that I go in, you know, I might have a very different experience based off of where I am in my life. But I definitely want to do it again because I want to see what's next for me.
Yeah. See what the next barrier
What's
is.
the next barrier I need
that
to,
you need
what's the
to,
next thing?
get past. And
how do I become more enlightened? And I think for me, I want more enlightenment. I want to see how far I can stretch my existence. And I think mushrooms are good for that. But I do think, on a note, that even Michael Pollan says this, and a lot of researchers, that if you have like a family history of schizophrenia or severe depression, you should not do these drugs. You should not do these things. That's really important to note. But if that is not part of your history or makeup, I think it can be an incredibly profound experience if done in the right setting with the right people for the right purpose.
yeah. And I love you have thoroughly explained your journey with it, and then the research that went behind it, your knowledge of it, and then your recommendation for it. Of course, I'm gonna tell everyone there's other ways to reach that. It's going to be a lot more work. It's going to be a lot more, but literally first times in your experiences have that effect of opening you up, of releasing things, of, putting in the good brain chemicals in place. And the more you do it, the more your brain gets hooked on it. It wants more of it. And it's evolving you. As you're evolving, you're letting go of the things you don't need. You're discovering more of the things that you need. Is just, it's that progress. But by all means, I think Darian's experience, Mike's experience, have demonstrated that is a quick way of doing things. You do it right. And then after that, continue your involvement. Like Darian took the step, they move, and that's like, if you do it and you have strong feelings afterwards and you deny those feelings, you're going to go right back to the way that you were. Right. So then you would have wasted that experience unless you're willing on the other side to go ahead and make the changes that this experience is going to call you to do. So that, that's true of life. Like I said, I am going to skip it because my brain is already doing way too much crazy things for me. I don't need to.
Everybody has their own existence, experience.
I don't need to expand my mind any more than it's already scaring me where it's going. And it's like, I still need to, because it will, like, I'll have some ideas where I have to stop. And for like a day to half a day, sometime a day and a half, all I can do is deal with this vision that I had. And it's like, okay, I'm like, I had a to-do list today, but my brain decided to have this brand old, this crazy thought. And now I can't function because I have to like fully get the emotional, like go through that emotional aspect of that thought so that I can get back to normal. And it is a little bit debilitating sometimes. I'm not going to lie. So, all right. So Darren, before we play the first time lightning round, how can people get in touch with you?
One, I think the best way to get in touch with me and learn about how I communicate and I think who I am as a person is through my podcast, Dr. D's Social Network podcast, which is on all major podcasting platforms, Apple, now Amazon, Google, Stitcher, anything like that, or through LinkedIn, which I'm on pretty regularly. Just Darian Parker on there, and you can find me.
All right, awesome. All right, so it is time to play the first time lightning round. So I'm going to ask Darren 10 different first time options. If it's something he's done before, he's going to swipe up. So similar to if he was on the app. If something he's never done, not interested, we go left. Something he's never done, would like to do, add to his list, then we go right. All right, first one, go on an Alaskan cruise.
What were the options again? I've done it before. Is that the up?
That's up. Yeah.
Up. I've done that for sure.
Ooh. Ooh,
Yeah.
what was your Alaskan cruise like?
It was amazing. I was around 26. No, that's not true. I'm lying. I was like 28. And I lived in Las Vegas during that time. And I was like, you know what? I'm going to go on an Alaskan cruise. My wife and I, this is before we had our daughter. And I thought, why don't we try something like do a cruise that's not warm? And we did it. And we were definitely the youngest people by like 30 years on that cruise, for sure. It was one of the chillest, laid back cruise. There were no young people. I can tell you that right now. I mean, really, it
Awesome.
wasn't. There was no kids. It was a lot of elderly senior citizens, which is wonderful. It's beautiful.
Yeah, I'm sure you got to
Great.
meet some very interesting people in their
Yeah,
lives.
very
And
interesting people.
yeah,
But nobody our age was on that cruise. I can tell you that right now.
I'm laughing because I have found myself in so many places where I felt that way. Like I'm a good 30 years younger than everybody who's here.
Yeah.
So, it's
Yeah.
always been fascinating.
Yeah.
Okay, volunteer as a local firefighter.
Probably something I'd probably want to do is at the left deal
Right.
there. Yeah. Right. Yeah. I might get my directions all jacked up here, man.
No
I'm
worries.
gonna see here.
All right.
I'd
So
probably
that,
try that. Yeah. I mean, I
okay.
think there's something interesting about that, I think. Yeah.
So that's right. We're adding it to the list, and it's up your alley. Very physically demanding. It'll
Yeah.
keep you in
Yeah. I
good
like
shape.
physically demanding things. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Attend a film festival.
I would love to do that, actually. Right. I would love to like a big one, like
Yeah, like Canes
like
or
King,
Toronto
yeah, or an
or yeah.
Aspen or something like that. I've done like really tiny ones. So I didn't consider that was like a thing, but I would love to do one of those. I think that'd be amazing.
Oh, okay, fabulous. Drive a McLaren.
Ooh, yeah, I'd like to write. I'd like to do that too.
We're
Yeah.
adding that to the list.
Yeah.
Do embroidery.
No. I don't find that to be that interesting. Maybe it would be if I tried it, but I don't have a feeling that I want to do that. Yeah.
Okay, so we're going left,
We're
but
going left.
if it did come across your
It's
path,
a left.
you might it's a left. Okay. All right. Dance the cha-cha-cha.
I've done that.
You've
I've done
done
that.
that.
Yeah, done
All
that.
right. What was that experience like?
It was good. I like dancing. I'm big into dancing. Like, and when I lived in Vegas early, back in the 2006, 7 time, I used to go clubbing like crazy. I was like a club fanatic. I go to Studio 54 and I would do, I mean, I was be there all night. It was like a thing for me. I don't do that. I didn't do that towards the end of Vegas, but I love dancing. So yes, definitely.
Okay. Take a hot yoga class.
I've done that.
And that,
Yeah. Mhm.
or take a yoga class outside in the summer in Las Vegas.
No, I mean, I've done that too, actually, unfortunately. Yeah. Too hot.
Too hot. Yep.
Yeah.
All right. Take a cooking class.
I've done that for
And that,
sure.
what was your
Love cooking.
first cooking class? What did you make?
Well, actually, I don't know if this is a class. What is a class? In high school, I took international foods and gourmet foods my senior
Ooh.
year. And again, I was like the only guy in the class. And I think I made Thanksgiving dinner was the first thing I ever made.
That's a
Turkey, the
big
whole
one.
thing.
That's
Yeah, it was a lot of stuff, but I learned how to cook in high school, which I thought was an important skill to have as an adult. So
completely agree with that. Yeah,
Yeah.
home ec and all those
oh,
classes.
we need to have more of those classes.
Yeah, if the schools don't offer those, the schools absolutely need to bring those back. I mean, they're life skills.
People need to know how to cook for themselves. I don't
Mhm.
know how people don't know how to cook for themselves.
I've met people who have never even used a can opener, and you're
What?
how can that be?
This is a mess.
I never take anything for granted anymore because
Yeah,
one of the
you're
things
right.
I have on the fix my first challenge list as well as like mow the lawn, and I had it as a play along, and a couple of my coaches came back and they had never mowed the lawn before. And I was just like,
Really?
I thought it's just something everybody did as a kid. Like at some point
Yeah.
you got forced to mow a lawn.
Yeah. Oh,
or-
yeah.
Yeah,
Wow.
unless you did grow up in the desert and then you raked
Yeah.
your yard. But yeah, it's just crazy things. I never take it for granted that somebody might never have done something.
Mowing the lawn is very meditative, by the way. For me, oh my
yeah.
gosh, it's just like so monotonous, but meditative. Anyway, that's my thing.
Yep. And it's good exercise.
Yeah.
So,
It's actually hard.
Yeah. Okay. You did spend quite a bit of time in Las Vegas. So did you ever win a jackpot?
No, no,
No.
never won a jackpot.
So
No.
we're swiping right on that one.
Swiping right. Yeah, I don't ever even tried either. I don't really like gamble and stuff. So I was like,
But never.
never,
if
no
if
jackpots.
yeah, if the opportunity ever came, though, I'll take it.
I would take the money, believe me.
Okay, final one is go to a classical concert.
I would definitely like to do that for sure.
All
That
right.
would be amazing. I love classical music.
All right, so that's another right.
Hmm.
All right, awesome. So that concludes the first time lightning round. The final question is how have you been how making the best out of the current situation with the pandemic?
You know, what's interesting, I think for me, not a lot has changed because when I moved from Las Vegas, I ended up doing all remote work with my live virtual personal training service, um, Epic Leisure Management, my other company. So I went from in Vegas working in a luxury facility every day to working at home every single day. So as soon as there was a lockdown, all that stuff, it was just like normal for me. There was no difference. Um, and I think that I've coped with it just by doing my normal stuff because that's just and I wanted that. See, after my mushroom experience, I wanted a quieter kind of cabin in the woods remote experience. Even though it's not exactly that, it's close. So I wanted that somewhat of an isolation to discover more about myself, slow down. And so it was just a continuing of that process for me. But I recognize that how jarring that could be if your life is not like that. And you had to all of a sudden go from working in a place and run, busy, busy, busy. And then you're at home and you're like, what do I do with myself? And how do I deal with this? So I think for me, I just continued to stay slow in terms of how I approach things and try to focus on things that are greater than myself and have sensitivity to things and have low stress. If there's anything I could always say, lower stress is like an incredible thing. It keeps your body so relaxed. And I think you're able to make better decisions when you're not in a heightened state all the time. So for me, I try to stay very relaxed, look at things objectively, but also feel things and be empathetic as well to what's going on, that my life is not the center of things. There are other things going on. And I want to be empathetic to that.
Yeah, beautifully said once
Thank
again.
you.
Thank you. Well, thank you for spending some time with me on this Friday morning. I really appreciate it. Appreciate hearing your story and learning
Thank
more
you.
about you.
Thank you. And you're wonderful. Thank you so much.